October, October 1917, October 2011, Part 1, Savage Nation. Nancy Pelosi is thrilled that the vermin are in the street because they're not talking about her loan to her brother-in-law. Obama's thrilled that they're not talking about gun running to Mexico, machine guns to drug cartels through Eric Holder's hands. They're all very happy that the vermin are attacking Wall Street. But what is Wall Street? Who is Wall Street? Wall Street is you. If you own any stock, you're Wall Street. Did you hear what I just said to you? If you own any stock at all, if you own a mutual fund, if you invest in bonds, you are Wall Street. What you need to do is you need to organize and go out in the street and say, I am Wall Street. You need to hold up posters. 1 million of you who say, I am Wall Street, must stand up to these vermin in the streets of America who are being organized by David Axelrod, Rahm Emanuel, Charles Schumer, and the entire Democrat Union complex. The Democrat Union complex is behind all of this, and they're going to get violent very soon. They're promising us that they're going to get violent very soon. You see, the same people who tried to do this back in the 60s are behind this again, if not in, let us say, in body, at least in theory. I lived through the so-called Days of Rage, which were set up to oppose the Vietnam War, but the ultimate goal was to galvanize a true communist revolution in the streets of America. That was created by many people who are now in the Obama administration, who are members of the so-called Students for a Democratic Society. They may have disappeared, but they've reemerged. You don't even understand who they are. They had names. They still have names. They have suits. They have skirts. They may be empty suits and they may be empty skirts, but they have tremendous blood in their minds. If you think this is just a spontaneous group of young people, you are mistaken. You haven't any idea what's really going on in this country. These people behind them, the people behind them, are deadly serious. If you listen to them very carefully and you understand what their blueprint really is, if you actually look at what Lucinda Franks and Thomas Powers wrote in 1970 when Bill Ayers attended a protest organization meeting in November 1969 in Washington, D.C., and when he was asked what the Weathermen program was, and he said, kill all the rich people, and Ayers answered, break up their cars and apartments. But aren't your parents rich, he was asked? And Ayers said, yeah, bring the revolution home, kill your parents. That's where it's really at. This is the same Bill Ayers who was a friend and is a friend of Obama and a good friend of Axelrod. They were talking about the pleasure of killing rich people. Indeed, Bernadine Dawn, who is now Bill Ayers' wife, is quoted in the same article by Franks and Powers. I'm reading to you now from an incredible article, Are the Conditions Ready for Revolution? By Frank Miele, M-I-E-L-E, from the Daily Interlake in Kalispell, Montana. He says, what were they talking about? Well, I'll tell you more about this. Let's go back to my main theme so we don't lose it. October 1917, October 2011, you're witnessing the beginning of a communist revolution. And if you don't know it, you better know it. New York, WOR, Tim, go ahead, please. You're on the Savage Nation.
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Savage. I was hearing your opening commentary, and one thing you referred to was the French Revolution. And it just struck a chord in me in that how your life in some ways parallels that of some other famous people, such as Thomas Paine, who had wrote Common Sense, which is basically the theme of what you're trying to tell us. And he was also banned in Britain, which is another common theme.
Was he? Was Thomas Paine banned in Britain? Good for him. I guess he had good teeth, and they didn't. He had good teeth, and he didn't want to go over there for the dental work. Well, no, it's a very serious situation here. The entire West are run by gangsters. All of the Western governments are run by criminals and by cowards who stand for nothing. They stand for absolutely nothing, which is why an unknown like Herman Cain, who, by the way, I was the first to show the people who Herman Cain was. Can you name one other person in the media who divulged that Herman Cain was a man who had a degree in mathematics? Nobody knew that. I drew that out of him. And it was this show, I want to remind you, who exposed Michelle Bachmann for the phony she is, incidentally, Tim.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Tim, let me say this. I appreciate you're making a comparison. I'd rather have the former rather than the latter. I'm going to send you a free copy of my great novel if you can name it. What's the name of my novel?
Abuse of Power.
Bingo! You're a winner. And I am going to read a little bit from it. I'll tell you, I was out last week with some, I was not feeling well. Let's put it that way. Let's leave it at that. And I listened to some of the replays. And on Friday afternoon, I heard a replay of my own show in the third hour, wherein my character, Jack Hatfield, talks about the rising sun. You know, he lives on a boat in Abuse of Power, and he watches the rising sun and he reflects on God and eternity. I said, this writing is really good. I'm proud of myself. It's one of the things I'm really proud of in my life is that book. In fact, I feel Abuse of Power is perhaps one of my best achievements. I'd put it right up there in the top 3. And I really recommend that you get a copy and read it. I don't know how else to put it. Get it on Kindle or whatever. Just get it. But let's go back to the communists in the streets of America. Many of them don't even understand they're being manipulated by the very same forces that they think are their friends are really their enemy. In fact, Wade Rathke, R-A-T-H-K-E, has called the Occupy Wall Street movement, quote, an anti-banking jihad. Notice he's using the rhetoric of Islamic holy war to warn bankers that violence is coming. Now, the FBI should investigate him, but the FBI is totally wholly owned by the Obama administration, wholly owned by the Holder people. Who is Rathke? He's the founder of Acorn. He is the founder of Acorn. He got his start as a foot soldier in the very same communist group, Students for Democratic Society, the precursor of the very, very deadly Weather Underground. Rathke, Piven, and the other generals of this jihad want the American government and economy to collapse. You have no idea what you're tinkering with here. You have no idea what you are playing with here. You are Wall Street. If you own a hedge fund, if you own any stock, if you own a bond, if you have an investment in anything that's invested in Wall Street, you are Wall Street. They want to destroy the American way of life. They want to destroy the system of our way of life. Only they are being run by such clever people that they make themselves sound like they're Robin Hood when they are far from that. It is the Savage Nation. We're talking about the revolution that's occurring in America, and make no mistake about it, this is being orchestrated by the White House, by Rahm Emanuel, by David Axelrod. Now, why do I suspect that is true? Why do I make such a bold accusation? Do you remember what Obama's radical chief of staff at the time, Rahm Emanuel, said, the now mayor of Chicago? He said, you never want a serious crisis to go to waste. You forgot that, right? Now, that's right out of the Cloward-Piven playbook. I wrote about this in Trickle Up Poverty. You got to read it. I don't want to read from my own book. I have too many books that I've written. The Cloward-Piven strategy advanced socialism and advanced the socialist agenda in their own country. And the fact of the matter is, they're a husband and wife duo. They were lifelong members of the Democratic Socialists of America. And they advanced a method for pushing socialism, which was to leverage a manufactured crisis to advance the socialist agenda along with the redistribution of wealth. Plain and simple, this is what's going on right now. This is right out of the Cloward-Piven playbook. And that's why Team Obama thrives on creating or leveraging crises by demanding quick action, which is a vehicle for socialist change. Quick action. Remember, the slowness of our Congress is the mark of a democracy. Quick change is what socialists like. That's what the Cloward-Piven strategy is all about. In short, in order to usher in socialism, Cloward-Piven taught this: make a crisis, make it publicly visible, make sure it involves disrupting some institutional or societal sector, and capitalize on the social unrest it produces. If that's not what's going on right now, tell me what it is.